Peace and blessings, divine spirit beings. Welcome to yet another video on spiritual healing. And what I want to talk about today, it's a sensitive topic that most spiritual beings or some spiritual beings might not agree with, but this is my view of things, and I believe it's something that needs to be talked about, that people need to hear, and maybe some people can even comment on it, might even add on it, So this is about every spiritual being, or us as spirit beings, having some kind of a spirit guide, an inner guru, And the reason why I wanted to talk about this is that there are some individuals within our spiritual community, and these individuals, they got their spiritual awakening through some sort of a spiritual master or a spiritual guru, So the reason why I want to talk about it is that these individuals, they would promote getting a spiritual realization from a spiritual master, and they would even say that you can never properly achieve enlightenment if you never had a spiritual master. Then it's some kind of a compulsory thing to have a spiritual master. There are things that one needs to know when coming to spirituality, is that as spiritual beings, we have to acknowledge that there is a spiritual world or a spiritual realm, and that everything that has to do with spirituality is inspired by the spiritual realm. When we talk about prophecies, intuition, these are aspects of the spirit realm, inspired by some kind of higher self, or the supreme source, or emissaries, or you might say spirit guides, So with these guides, one has the potential of achieving nirvana on his or herself, without having some kind of a master, without even reading a book or some text of spirituality. I know many of you have had this thing of just having this knowledge within you, that you knew it before you could even read about it, or you knew it before you could hear a spiritual teacher or somebody else speaking about it. This is because we have spirit guides. This is because there is a library, an Akashic record library, It's not a physical library, but it's a library that sometimes we can tap into it, or sometimes just by being on a certain frequency, we are able to download that information from Akashic records, So with this kind of frequency, one is able to get all the information necessary for one to be a Christ or a Buddha, So when we only promote certain ways of spirituality, we are limiting that spiritual world to what we think it is. We must remember that where we are in our conscious mind, it's not that easy to know what is happening on the spiritual realm, So we can never really say we know everything, It doesn't mean that when you don't have a spiritual master, a spiritual guru, or you don't have some cult that you following, or some spiritual denomination that you are part of, it means that you are doomed. You will never achieve spiritual realization. Even if you check with spiritual masters, they might have their spiritual background or religious background that inspired their journey, but the time that they achieved or attained spiritual enlightenment, that Illuminati, it was when they were at their own space, meditating, intuitively coming to them, So it shows that these things, even though a spiritual teacher might help guide you or might show you the ropes or show you some kind of a practice that you can do to achieve nirvana, but it all comes from you. And if you're not ready, a spiritual master can never even help you to achieve nirvana. It all depends on you. It all depends on your force, the force within, the spiritual force. It depends on the life force, the prana, that you are now ready to ascend and be a spiritual master or an avatar or a god. So not saying a lot about this. There's a whole lot of things that I could talk about when coming to this topic, but I just wanted to point out that following a certain sadhana or being part of an ashram is not the only way for one to achieve enlightenment. There are many paths out there. There is no one way to achieving nirvana. You can achieve nirvana anyhow. It depends on what resonates with you. It depends on your karma from the past life that will determine on how you achieve your enlightenment in this lifetime, in this reincarnation. So let's not limit ourselves and say there is only one way. There are many ways to achieving spiritual realization, and we should explore and find our own way of connecting with the divine. Well, thank you so much for giving me a chance to talk about this today, and may the divine positive energy continue being with you. Love and light. Namaste. Peace and blessings to you.